if physiology is we know that human physiology has been the same for about 50,000 years, and psychology is also a little bit closed subject. I'm sure that we all have much more different opinion on technique and different opinion on boat rigging. So I will present how I think and how we think in Norway. So first a little bit on boat rigging.
Сначала поговорим о настройке лодок.
You've probably seen this. It's Valeri Kleshnev's, and of course we have been into talking about psychology, a little bit of lifestyle and coaching, and work capacity in physiology. But Valeri's field is of course technique and rigging. And in Valeri's mind, and in my mind as well, so rigging affects the rowing style, and it might be the most important thing is that the rower sits comfortable. I think that Valeri used Mirka Knapkova. She had a boat that was theoretically it was slower than the Empacher boat, but she was sitting so well in that boat so she could actually produce more power, so she was better over 2,000 meters anyway. So be comfortable in the boat. It's like a pair of shoes. So actually the rowing style is very much affected by boat rigging, and so is the boat efficiency, because nowadays you can actually, when I started to row, you couldn't move the rowers back and forth in the boat. Nowadays you can trim the boat to about how the rowing style is done. You can move the athlete back and forth in the boat. How do you have a general rule for how you place the rower in the boat? Because we have a rule in Norway. We're putting the rower as far back as possible, so the front of the boat is lifting in the water. Strong theories that says that is the best way to trim a boat. You can watch the back of the boat, and if it's too little, you move the rowers a little bit forward. But generally, we place the rowers as far back as possible. And we got that the knowledge we use comes from sailing, and they are very observant about how they trim the boat in the water. So both canoeing, sailing, and even when they're building really big ships, they try to make them light in the front. What we start with is to take the rigger and put it as far back. Now when we have the wing rigger, we can move it. So we're putting it so far on the back of the boat. So we take the rigger, because we're using wing riggers now, and we put it as far in that direction as possible, because then we get the lift on the water. What we don't like is to put it here, because then the boat is going down. And of course, you choose exactly how you like to do it. This is now we're just presenting how we think. So for all our rowers, we start with moving this as far back as possible, and then if we need to move the foot stretcher, we also move that one. But we start with putting the rigger as far back as possible. If we need to move the tracks, we move the tracks as well. So we put the rigger as far back as possible, and then we find a good position. So we do that for both in the single, in the double, in the four. We do the same. We actually have found that different people need different pitching of the blade. We are very much looking for stroke length. So what we do is that small, lightweight women, they have a really narrow it's narrow between the gates, so they can get a good length. And of course they need short blades. And all Valeri Kleshnev's information you will find on biorow.com, and also that there is on FISA's worldrowing.com there is rigging surveys. So they They measured all. You maybe remember they measured all the boats in Sarasota,
Yes.
and that is presented on World Rowing. How every crew from every country has. It was done in Eton, I think, for also in 2006, and I think it was done for junior in 2010 and 2011. So we have a lot of we take a lot of consideration, of course, to adjust the boat for body dimensions, to be able to reach the biomechanical targets, length and power, to trim the boat so it moves good through the water, and trim the oar so it's moving nice in the water, so you have a good catch, a good finish, and a good movement through the water, so the rower feels that the oars are moving well. We're even now we're elaborating a little bit, but not very much, a little bit with to have different setting for different person in a crew boat, even a little bit different span for long and tall people together in a crew boat. But this is a little bit experimental. What we do is, and we will see that a little bit down in the boathouse later on. Of course, we use knowledge. We listen to other coaches. We try to pick up new things. We talk to oar manufacturers. What do you think is the best way to pitch your oar? We're using. There's nobody in Norway using any other oar than Concept. For all the national team is Concept. Maybe there is one who's using Crocker in the single, but in the crew boat is using Concept. We're using Concept skinnies. We use stiff ones for heavyweight men and mediums for women and for lightweight men, and we do soft oars for lightweight women. And we use knowledge, and we use the FISA rowing database to find out what others do and see if we're getting inspired by others. We take interest in this. We watch when we do coaching. We will also watch how the blade is moving through the water, if you got the right length and so on. We measure it with a few times a year. We measure it together with Valery Kleshner, and then we try to figure out if we can do something better. The next step for us is to give somebody who doesn't know anything about rowing, a mathematician or a physician, to a physical man, to actually calculate what would be the best way to propose a boat. But we're not yet there. Time and patience is really important, because I know that our best rowers, they can use a couple of times a year in a way. They can use 3 hours to work through the boat to get the way they want it. So it takes patience. So I know that when we're coming down to Portugal on Saturday morning, the 2nd of March, I expect people to row a long slow distance workout in the morning after they have set their boats, but I'm sure that half of the gang won't make it to the water because they're still fixing with the boats. And that just describes how high priority this has to us, because we believe it is important. Of course, you need to do this properly. You need the right tools, and you need to have trustworthy tools. It's not expensive things, and it's really easy to do, easy to handle. It just takes patience and right tools, but not expensive. It is a coach's duty to assist, but we try to make the athletes be responsible for this, because it's their equipment, and I think that every athlete should know that. It's been a little bit harder to get the girls to do it themselves, but they are there now. I think that for a few reasons. I think it's important that you own the process, you know how to do it, but also if you expect a coach to do it, you have to wait a lot, because if we're 2 coaches and have 8 boats, then you will wait the whole day to get your boat set. I think that is what we can communicate here and now, and then we'll have to see a little bit more in practical how I want my rowers to row, and this is as close as I think you can come in my opinion. This is the moment of the start. One of the, I was talking a lot about the hip. Mm-hmm. You can see how Kjetil is sitting. Passive position on the front of the sit bone. Look on most of the other.
Посмотрите на большинство других.
Already here, he won't win the start, but in my opinion, he will come out in a good rhythm that he can use in the middle part of the race. The thing that we work a lot on, that you can watch, is the hip, the positions in through the strokes, and also we work a lot on the relaxation. We will come back to that. We call it the smartest rowing. So in the beginning of the season, people can be a little bit stiff and pull a little bit hard. But by the end of the season, we want really good movement economy. Kjetil is representing classical rowing, and I will come back to what was my inspiration in the beginning. And as you can see, also we trim the boat so it looks light in the stern. Kjetil is a decent guy physiologically, but he used to race Shabashenia. Shabashenia was better than him in the erg, I'm sure of that. So what you can see here is in my opinion, it's a really good economical rowing. What is happening when you're sitting on the back of the bum? You open up and you lose the finish. At occasions, Manson can row really fast, but it's not stable. You can see the relaxation. This is just an illustration of what I like to see. And if you go back and see Frida Svensson's World Championship race from 2010, you will see that she's sitting in the same position in the start. She's winning the start, and she's moving just the same around the hip. That is a few of the key factors that I teach in rowing. I don't talk extremely much about details, and I will come back a little bit to that. What I teach is that the hands are moving in the same speed all the way through the recovery. So same speed all the way. In my view, rowing comes extremely much from the hip. And as I told you yesterday, nobody in my team they can sit on the ergometer and don't do the right hip work. People are not allowed to sit like this on the ergometer. They have to be up, and you can feel it in the sitting bone. And when you're sitting on the ergometer, you can sit and roll over, and you can see the slide moving back and forth. So ideally, you're sitting in the finish, and you're moving the slide in the wrong direction to get a good reach. That is what we teach. So a lot of rowing comes from the hip. My vision of rowing came from Italian rowing during the 80s. I was competing in the 80s, and I always found that Italy they had a long stroke with good leg use. So rowing in Italy in the 1980s inspired me in the beginning. So that a lot of my thinking comes from that time. We talk a lot about using the body weight, to have the body weight behind the oar and use it for creating power. We almost never say pull the oar. We almost all the time say push the body weight. So we're pushing as far as we can, and in the end there's a little bit of pull. And we know that energy is limited. We do a lot of training to be able to produce energy, but still there is a limitation in how much physiological ability we have. So we often, when we come closer to the important main events, we talk about the most intelligent, the smartest rowing. And what I use to communicate is only only the energy used to pushing the boat is energy allowed to spend. Every other muscle fiber you should be able to control and relax. So I think about rowing technique in a yearly cycle. So I think a lot about movement pattern in the beginning and details later on. So what we work a lot on now, even on winter time, on the ergometer, is what the hip is doing and the position of the body. Later on, we work with the hands. What are the hands doing? And then, of course, there is blade work because it's well connected to the hands. And we do, as I told you yesterday, we will do some uphill running to have high quality training now on the first training camp, just to be able to work in a long, slow distance rhythm with controlled movements. So we set the first that we're setting the good technique, and then we increase the rhythm. And then movement economy, own every muscle fiber, the smartest rowing. To be really fit but row as you were weak is lead words for the period we used before the championships. So now on the first training camp you're allowed to pull hard in a slow rhythm, but later on you should be smarter and smarter in your rowing and be able to lift it up in the hill really high. And what we do is that we have technical goal. Long-term goal, what is important for this season, but also we have technical goals for the first camp in a wish, for the group and for the individuals, but also on every single workout. I can tell you, this is the technical goal for this workout. This is what we want to say after this workout, that we're working with the hip and you will get feedback on the hip. I don't care about your catch. I don't care about if you have a little bit of white water during the finish, because today it's a hip. So typically during a stretch of our water is 3 kilometers, you will get feedback. Good, good, good. A little bit more, a little bit less. Good, good, good. And then we stop and turn. We have a discussion, and then more of this, more of that. So that is the way that I coach. At occasions I give a lot of feedback, but only one or two things at the same time. And we also use other feedback like video and speed coach, but for speed coach, for instance, it's really important that some of the changes you actually do in the movement pattern might give lower speed in the start. Before it's getting better, it's actually getting worse. So you should both with video and with speed coach, you should figure out, you should ask yourself why do I need this feedback. And sometimes I talked about yesterday about the motor skill coaches in the Olympia top, and sometimes we find problems that, for instance, Olaf, he had a problem that his right elbow was going down in every finish, and the solution was not Olaf sit up, because he couldn't. So then we have to go back to the physio and to Olympia top and motor skills coach, to Jane that was working with the ballet in London. What can we do to make this easier? So there is a collaboration between other people also when it comes to rowing technique. If you can't sit, because I found that my experienced rowers, they could easily sit on the floor right up, but the less experienced rowers, they were all the time falling down. Keen on how you can move your hip, and if you do it like this,
для Йохана это тоже важный фактор, потому что некоторые люди делают ошибку, поднимая подножку.
So try to sit really good up on the hip. If you do like that, you will see what happens to the back.
Вы видите, что как только вы поднимаете ноги, положение спины меняется.
And if you put the feet all the way down, it will be really easy to sit.
Если вы опустите подножку,
if you put the foot on the floor,
намного легче держать.
Yeah, you can see it's really easy to control the hip.
На пол, намного легче контролировать.
So if you start to row a few strokes here.
Он попросил Машу сделать несколько гребков.
So now she's really flexible.
В настоящее время она
So you can make it pretty good anyway, but we'll see what happens to the hip if we move them.
Достаточно, в принципе, все хорошо в любом случае. Но посмотрите, что происходит, если мы опускаем подножку.
Because the earlier preparation,
Она более раньше готовится.
and she gets a better position into the catch.
У нее лучшая позиция в захвате.
And now try to roll up on the hip.
И теперь попробуй повернуть
Now you
себя
can,
на этих
then you can see the slide.
на тазобедренном суставе.
You can feel that then you can see that when you're sitting here, you're pushing the slide. Yes, it is tough.
Да, это трудно.
But what we do, we try to sit for maximum 20 minutes at a time, going up for a minute or two, stretching, and then do 20 minutes again.
Что они пытаются делать, они пытаются работать 20 минут, потом встать, сделать какую-то разминку и поработать 20 минут еще.
So we're really important. We are really important by doing this properly. Every workout during the year, because so often I can see people sitting on the ergometer like that, and moving in power into the catch, and falling to the knees, and open up like that, and even very experienced rower. And the thing is,
Можно? Они уделяют этому очень большое внимание и ежедневно контролируют вот именно вот это движение в тазобедренном суставе, потому что очень часто вы можете увидеть гребцов, которые ускоряются к захвату и рано открывают спину в начале гребка.